Lorraine. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
Pleasure to be here with you, Phoebe.
Yeah, we have just met, I think it was almost exactly a month ago.
Just
And
about.
yeah, you just dove right into becoming a guide with nOMad, which I'm so grateful for because just in that little time, I've gotten to know you and witness you and this transition that you're going through and your path of being a guide. So before we dive into that experience with you, where are you in the world right now and what are you offering the world?
So right now I am in the beautiful Garden State of New Jersey. I've been here for just about 20 years or so. And
Hmm.
it's been a blast. It's been a blast. And I've transitioned from my military career into going full 100% into health coaching and becoming a public speaker, trying to encourage others to do better for themselves.
Mm. Oh, let's talk a little bit about that. That seems like a very interesting transition from military life into health coaching. Can you just share a little bit about your journey before you got to that calling of like what was your life like in the military?
Right. So military, I think I've always had held positions of leadership, and the military
Hmm.
kind of helped make that mature that within me. Because even in
Hmm.
high school, I was a squad leader and just leadership throughout the journey of my life. And so the military was almost natural. Um, Through promotions and everything else, I took on the helm of leading the airmen in my squadron, becoming a leader for a entire wing in terms of education and training. So it was a natural to kind of find my roots in educating people on different things in their own personal journey. My personal journey in terms of health, I had some challenges over the years and found
Hmm.
ways to overcome those challenges. And those are the things that I speak to when it comes to health, because I want to see others do better for themselves, especially friends and family close to me. I want us to age well together and not
Hmm.
necessarily be walking, with not if we don't have to, that is, with, a cane and being bedridden and things of that nature. So to take action now so we can look for a better health.
Yeah. Can you share a little bit more if you don't mind? Like what were your health issues that you were dealing with? Were they related to being in the military? Were they separate or intertwined? What did that look
I
like?
would say they're more intertwined, and some of the
Yeah.
things the military experience exasperated it. So it's not that the military was the created the situation. It's just that following that path, it kind of it just didn't help.
Yeah.
Um, there are some things as an individual you have to take account for. But when you're following a certain trajectory, a path that's laid out for you, this is all you know. So until you're educated about something different, then that's your course of action. So my hypoglycemia is one of the biggest things that I had challenged with over the years. And that was even prior to the military.
Mm.
And I always thought that was family heredity because my mother impact from hypoglycemia also. So I think back to my high school years and college years, it was a struggle trying to stay focused on academics and everything else because of hypoglycemia, because my body was so dependent on carbohydrates, because that's what I had become conditioned to rely on.
Mhm.
And through education and the standard American diet, that's typically what we're having.
Mhm.
Military, because there are so many instances where we don't get to have a solid meal, that you're looking for that quick fix. It's usually a high carb meal, sandwiches and snacks, a lot of processed foods, just trying to get through the day so you can get some rest and make it to the next day. And all those things kind of exasperated my hypoglycemic condition. And then until I learned how to manage, essentially, and ways of combating and correcting that condition through fasting and lowering my carb intakes and eliminating processed foods. So with that, my the condition never really goes away per se. And
Mhm.
in saying that, if I went back to that lifestyle, then it would basically remanifest itself. But I'm more conscious of what I eat and how things impact my body in general. And that's, in a sense, is what I want other people to become more attuned with, is how do things actually affect you? Are you really tuning in to what's happening with you when you eat certain food, because we go from meal to meal to meal, and most of us don't really stop and recognize that, yeah, your body's gotten relatively accustomed to certain things, but is that really best for you?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So it's interesting that you're sharing this right now. I interviewed Amanda, who's also one of our nOMAD guides,
Mhm.
and she was talking about conditioning in a different way, being a civilian. But I think it's really interesting what you're saying with being in the military, which, your body is your instrument, right? Like you would assume that it would be taught to really treat your body well. And I know too, because I've shared with you, I have worked with the military and I hear the same thing of like working really long hours, not getting enough sleep, food intake, like just shoving whatever's in available to you, the processed foods, and just fueling up as fast as you can. So it's really interesting to hear how you had this previous, these previous issues before and how the military and just that conditioning exacerbated it, as you said. And then what was like the turning point for you? Were you still in the military? Were you out when you said, okay, I really need to make this new shift?
So the turning point for me, I was still in, and the
Yeah.
turning point for me was trying to think exactly what happened. Um, so I noticed some other issues, because one thing is like almost like a domino effect. So
Yeah.
one condition, hypoglycemia was its own thing. And even though in my own way, I knew it in the back of my mind that I need to address it. And you go to the doctor, and because so many people present in the same way, it's thought of, oh, this is just what it is. You're just getting older, and not recognizing, yeah, there's more steps. There's more things you could look into to see what is really going on with you. And it was a little more weight than I wanted to have. And based on my schedule, I didn't have the time to do a lot of exercising. And I didn't feel that exercising alone was the answer, that it had to be more than just exercise and so-called eating healthy. What does eating healthy actually mean? Because there is more to it. And it was a friend of, actually, when I say a friend, it's, in the family, when you have that close friend where the mother is actually the auntie and you refer to them as cousins. So they're not blood relatives, but they're really
Yeah.
close to you. She was involved in, not the name of the program, but they did a lot of delayed intermittent fasting. So
Mm.
it was delaying the breakfast so that your body could actually heal longer. And that
Mm.
was the onset when I noticed the changes in how my body was feeling, incorporating intermittent fasting, and then looking at what foods I was eating, delaying, not having carbs in the morning, for
Mhm.
example, so that I could keep my insulin levels down. And if I did have carbs, then I would actually have that later in the day. And it was a positive outcome.
Yeah. Interesting. And so what started to shift for you when you made this, you became aware of it and you made these changes? What started to shift for you?
So I, I slept better at night, for one.
Mm.
um, and I guess that's another thing when it comes to recognizing how important sleep is, in that I slept better at night, because I think my nights were more like 4 hours sleep and not
Oh,
realizing the importance of getting 6 or more.
yeah.
So I slept better at night, and just my lethargic feeling, that kind of went away also. Something as simple as noticing your when you go to the bathroom, the urine, you know,
Yeah.
you know, we go to the bathroom, we flush the toilet, and we kind of do what we're doing. We don't really pay attention. Is there an odor? When I say an odor, not necessarily anything bad, but
Yeah.
what odor is actually coming? Is it a sweet smell? Is it a
Mm.
latent smell? And some of these things you kind of tune into. And I noticed that um that I used to smell almost like fruit and flowers when I go to the bathroom, but then now it went to a more neutral smell, back to what
Mm.
it was prior. And my energy level had improved, clarity in terms of not having a brain fog. Those things had improved when I started paying attention to what was going on.
Mm. And so you were doing this inquiry, you were applying these new practices, things were shifting for you. And then what was the turning point for you to say, "Oh, I want to learn more about this to help others?" What did that look like?
So prior to focusing on health, I'd become, because of the being a leader and doing just trying to help others. I was a life coach,
Okay.
just kind of getting people to do better with their lives in general. Um, looking at things introspectively and say, identifying what do you truly want out of life. So if you
Mhm.
don't know what you want, then you're really not going anywhere. And I made a decision to kind of spin that into, let me not just focus on life, but let's focus on health. And that's when I made a decision, exploring. I guess one of the big things is in exposing myself to different patterns of um, eating, because people, you have your veganism, you have your carnivore, you have so many different ways of eating. And Primal Health, it was Coach Kate, I think it was, when I found out and she's a YouTube influencer
Okay.
and a health coach. I explored what is it that she studied to be giving us the insights that she's been giving us. And that's
Mm.
how I discovered primal coaching, which is the work of Mark Sisson. And it just kind of related to the natural way that we should live our lives, minus all the processed foods and being active, embodying movement and just doing things that came natural, what we've been doing for centuries. And, you know, just doing things a natural way.
Yeah. So it sounds like it was truly more holistic, not just in terms of holistic eating,
Mm.
but there was also just you as a human being, right? With the movement and everything. So so you went into, did you do a training with them or what did that look like?
Yeah, but I did a training with them. I got my certification. They offer first the Primal Health Coach, and then you have the Primal Master Health Coach. I did both programs, and you kind of get to network with the other coaches and kind of infuse, and they offer a whole host of programs that people can venture on. What I appreciated about them is that it's not just about, you don't have to be a vegan, you don't have to be a carnivore, because no matter whatever works for you works for you. And
Mhm.
as long as it's whole, natural food, as much as you can embrace, essentially, then that's the direction that you should go in.
So that's a good question. What works for you? How do you figure that out? Like what does that exploration look like?
So there's a couple things. I mean,
Yeah.
my family has always been herb, like kind of what word I want to use. Basically, we eat everything.
Yeah.
We eat everything. And if you take out all the supplements that you might be, the vitamins and any other supplement that you might be taking, figure out, well, where are you getting the nutrients that you need to actually function 100%. So you have to look at things, like I said, holistically, right?
Yeah.
Um, for me, Jamaican tradition, we eat nose to tail. So we eat the liver, we eat the cow feet, we eat we do a thing called manish water, which is the a goat head soup, for
Okay.
example. So we're getting all the nutrients from the
Yeah.
animal. And in particular, if it's pasture raised, you're getting what the cow eats, what the goat
Mhm.
eats versus um, something that's commercially raised, which is getting fed corn and things of that nature, which is limiting on its bionutrients. So if you're eating meats that are pasture raised, you're getting more micronutrients in the food versus commercially raised food that you get in the store.
Yeah.
So there's a tendency that, of course, on an everyday basis, we are buying food in the store. There may be nutrients missing. And if you really tune into what's going on, when you ask your medical providers to give you a breakdown of your blood work and see what's balanced and what's not balanced, then you can kind of help to fine tune what works for you. I mean, if for example, that you are feeling a little brain fog, well, what are the components that could be impacting you that create that brain fog condition? Do you have any kind of irritable bowel syndrome going on?
Mhm.
And you kind of have to chip away at it one step at a time.
Mhm.
Um, Especially if you want this to be a lasting way of life, right?
Yeah.
Life's a journey. There's no there's no destination really. So it's something that you have to actively work on day in, day out.
So what does that look like when you work with a client? I mean, it sounds like it's a long process where maybe you're eliminating things and adding things back in. Is that correct?
It could be. It could
Yeah.
be. It all depends on what's going on with that individual because you have to kind of identify their baseline, or identify
Okay.
what their baseline is and find out what's comfortable for them.
Yeah.
Um, you're not trying to say that they should or shouldn't do something in specific. I'm not saying, oh, you need to be a carnivore,
Yeah.
or you need to be a vegetarian. Where are you starting? So it's getting that person's input to identify, okay, what would you like to address today? Because we can't address everything all at once.
Yeah.
You have to say, okay, this is where you are. And of these things, what can we address starting today and maybe focus on over the next week, 2 weeks, depending on what it is.
Yeah. And so when you're working with someone, what is that like? What does that time frame usually look like? And how I know it's general and it's one to one, but like how long do you see the changes and
So it's the minimum change
yeah.
or most effective change. It will take at least 21 days.
Okay.
At least 21 days. If you have a whole host of things going on with you, then of course it's going to take much longer. So
Hmm.
at the end of 21 days, an individual is usually on the right trajectory for better health.
Okay.
Um, so there is a like a 21-day program so that you can kind of set launch pad and getting you going in the right direction. But I do offer a 90-day program where you're working with someone for over the course of 90 days, and that tends to help set someone up for success in a better way.
Mm. And so what kind of symptoms and people are coming to you and looking for your guidance?
The majority of people, that one of the things is just not fitting the clothes right, essentially.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes an event comes up in their life and they're looking at themselves in the mirror and they're just not pleased with what they're seeing. So,
Yeah.
and especially in many cases, because a lot of the folks I speak with are in the military, and because of weight gain or not being able to meet the required
Yeah.
physical training, that's the reason why they decide to separate, or if they want to stay in, they know they need to make changes in order to last the long haul. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's not, finding yourself in a position where you're not able to do the things you either used to do or the things that you expect you thought you should be able to be doing. How do I change that trajectory?
Yeah, okay. So this could like I can totally see what you're saying, especially with active duty, where there is an expectation to have your body be able to do certain things and then that added stress. But then you also work with civilians too, who are just like, hey, I have this expectation to look good in a beautiful dress at this event or whatever it might be. And that's usually the call. It sounds like is more of the superficial. I mean, not to speak like negatively about it, but more of like what the body looks like. But it sounds like where you take people is just a whole inner transformation as well, because it sounds like it's not just about the food, but there's also mindset shifting that happens,
Oh,
right?
yes.
Yeah. So what's that all about? What are some of those kind of benefits?
So, I mean, just to mention one thing before that, so
Yeah.
there are a small group of people, because people tend to, of course, go to their doctors when you have some kind of condition. And
Mm,
there's a small group of people who look for more than just a dietitian or a doctor to help address their conditions, right?
okay.
So it may be that they have digestive issues, or they may have, they've been threatened with the idea that they may have to have their gallbladder removed.
Hmm.
There are folks that have peripheral neuropathy, which is
Oh
the,
yeah.
yeah, and not regular. There are folks who they may hear that they're pre-diabetic. And how do they address the condition so that that condition is reversed in sense, or put in some kind of remission? So there is that medical component that people are looking for additional help
Mhm.
for, or guidance really, in making things better.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the whole mind shift is people have to, nobody's gonna want change. You have to want change for yourself. And the kind of that's where it starts. And there's no one that I can talk to. If I approach someone, a friend, and say, hey, I noticed that, XYZ, would you like to have a conversation about this? Most people, the commitment is not there at all. And it really doesn't,
Mhm.
it's a challenge to get people to address things if they're not ready to address it. It's just like AA, for example,
Yeah.
you know, until you admit that you're a drunk,
Yeah.
alcoholic, then there's no change. So you have to kind of recognize within yourself that there's something that I've been doing wrong that I need to change, and just figure out where do I need to go to get that advice and guidance.
Yeah. And so when they have that aha moment and surrender, it sounds like a deep surrender of coming to a place like when you were saying that, like people do carry about it a lot of shame when there's something I've been quote unquote doing it wrong.
Mhm.
And so for you to be able to witness them in that moment must be really powerful for you and for that person.
Yes, it is. It is. But even with that, sometimes it takes more than addressing things, approaching it more than once. Because some people will
Yeah.
admit it to an extent, but they're still not really ready to make that change. Because you may have that initial conversation, and
Yeah.
until something else comes up, I'm like, you know what, Lorraine, I'm ready.
Yeah. Like they have to hit their head against that brick wall a couple of times and
Yep.
then realize, okay, nothing's going to change until I change.
Yep.
Yeah. So what are some like big wins that you've witnessed in the people that you've worked with?
So the big wins, most of the people have, like in terms of like I said, the pre-diabetes type of thing and events that they wanted to attend. So pre-diabetes is a big one because you think about the trajectory of the not just the country, but the entire world. The percentage, I believe, for the military, it's a close to about 30 something percent, 33%
Wow.
of military veterans have been diagnosed with either diabetes or pre-diabetes.
Whoa, I
And it's
didn't
actually a
know that.
higher number, even though it's a more concentration amount of people, it's a higher number than the general public. The general public, I believe, is like 25% or thereabout. And it's all a result of lifestyle.
Yeah.
And you would think that we had to be at our healthiest to join the military. Why is it that now that we're leaving, we're all broken?
Yeah, that's so
So to speak.
wild.
Yeah. So, and the thing is, the military, their objective for the
Mhm.
most part is their own results.
Mhm.
Not that they don't care about us as individuals, but they have a mission,
Yeah.
and mission is their mission. So that's why when I have the conversation about being your own ambassador, is that you need to have your own personal mission. Military has its own mission.
Yeah.
Where's your mission? Because in
Yeah.
order for you to stay in the game, you have to have your own personal mission. Be your own health ambassador.
Oh, I just got chills when you said that. Be your own ambassador. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, side note, I would love to have you come and talk to Tribe at our teacher training at some point because, we work with active duty and veterans as well. Um, so let's talk about where you're going with all of this because it sounds like you're in the middle of it. This is great. You're seeing people's transformations, but you and I came together because you were like, yeah, I want to do a retreat. So I would love to explore where you're at with that and your vision.
So one of the things I've had this vision, right,
Mhm.
is having opportunities or having events where mostly women, but not just women, could be couples, because the biggest thing for me, I think women are the backbone of the world.
Definitely.
And if we get it right for ourselves, then we can get it right for so many others. So having this time to kind of pull away from the world, going on a retreat, and really looking in ourselves, building ourselves up emotionally, nutritionally, and so forth, and kind of focus and work on that. But to make it work, I think, like I said, we have to be able to kind of put everything else behind us and kind of just shut out the world and
Mhm.
really focus on the individual, myself. If it's a couples retreat, then focus on yourselves as partners, if that's the case. But just kind of, like I said, you receive the information better if you can tune everything else out. And
Yeah.
that's where the idea of the retreat comes into place, and just kind of embracing and enjoying the environment while we're doing that.
Yeah. And you and I are in the process of getting a couple of these retreats together, but can you share with the people out there listening what you're envisioning? Like where it's going to be, what kind of things you're going to be doing so that they can stay tuned down the line?
Definitely. So one of
Yeah.
the things I'm exploring, because I'm here in the Garden State, New Jersey, and in New Jersey, there's a lot of unique towns that have a lot to offer. And I mean, if I say Princeton, most people know the first thing comes to mind is Princeton University. But
Mhm.
in Princeton, there are a lot of homes and gardens, lakes, and just open, beautiful areas where I am hoping that as women, we could take a long weekend and just kind of embrace the area, get educated on whole natural food, maybe experiment on a couple recipes, and just educating each other on a better way to live, a better way um, to have our life, to live our life, and just sharing that information so they can leave that experience and go home and start applying things that can improve their circumstances. So
Mhm.
there's that in terms of New Jersey. And there may be occasions where we end up at the shore, but I like the greenery of the natural vegetation as opposed to the sea. The sea has
Mhm.
its benefits, so that's something else. And then after a few events, one of the next big thing is actually doing a retreat to Jamaica.
Mhm.
I can't say I've heard anyone say that Jamaica is not a beautiful place.
It is a beautiful place. Yeah.
Yes. No, I wasn't born in Jamaica, but I spent a number of years, 15 years in Jamaica in my younger years. My parents are Jamaican, and there is no place I like going back to
Mm.
than going home. And it's something I'd like to be able to share my home with the people I work with, eating the natural foods that are there. And like I said, it's that farm to table experience is having the natural foods and just enjoying each other's presence.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who needs to go to New Jersey Shore when you can go to Jamaica? I mean, no offense, Jersey Shore, but yeah. And I just love what you're saying. Like, you're not only teaching people about going inward and listening to their body and asking, what kind of foods do I need here? But you're also, I just see the delight in your face of introducing people to your home, like your homestead being New Jersey and Jamaica. And that's exciting too, because when we have leaders like you who are opening up a world that maybe is just right around the corner, but they had never seen it through your eyes
Through
before.
mine.
It can be really powerful and beautiful. And when you were talking about Jamaica, I was like, oh yeah, I was just remembering jerk chicken and like, like,
Oh, my son recently made smoked oxtail egg rolls.
oh,
Yes,
interesting. Okay.
smoked oxtail egg rolls, and he got an order to make some more. So that's
Okay. So is he going to be on your retreats as the chef?
no, well, that's not the plan because cooking's not a strong point of his, but
Okay.
yeah, he does this for part of a tailgate that he does annually, and
Okay.
he would normally do jerk chicken wings, and he said, you know what, I want to step this up, Mom, because you got the cooking off of me. If Mom can
Okay.
cook, he's got to be able to do a little something. So
There you go.
yeah,
Amazing. And so yeah, so we're definitely going to let people stay tuned. That's why they want to join your mailing list. We have a free gift there. So people will join because as soon as you announce that, I know people will want to continue to follow you before that, but also for when you invite them on the retreat. And can you share a little bit about the session that you're going to be hosting at the global retreat here?
yes. So at the global retreat, I will be looking into holistic and intuitive eating.
Okay.
Essentially, that's the focus of this, and sharing with people how intuitive eating can actually benefit them, and the pros and cons to not addressing things in that way. So like anything else, we have been conditioned for the most part that we're supposed to eat 3 meals a day. But who really says, that we're
Mhm.
supposed to eat 3 meals a day? We have people who do well on 2 meals, people who do well on 1 meal. But what does your body truly need?
Yeah.
Do we really take the time and really notice what's going on? Because the majority of us, for those especially with a regular work routine, we get up, we have breakfast because we're told we're supposed to have breakfast. We have
Mhm.
lunch because it's lunchtime. We come home from dinner, we have dinner when it's dinner time. Is that truly? We tend to quite often eat when we're not necessarily hungry. And are you really, really hungry?
Yeah.
Because just because you have just like anything else, your body is tuning into the clockwork that you've set it at. And sometimes, quite often, if you notice when you feel hungry, if you drink a little water or just sit with that feeling just for a little while, that hunger feeling goes away. So maybe you're not really hungry. So tuning into things of that nature and just being aware of it.
Interesting. So this will be a workshop that we're going to become more of aware of our own body's signs, it sounds like.
Yes.
Okay. I see. I'm actually the opposite. I've had so many years where I forget to eat because I get so focused. And then all of a sudden it's 3 o'clock and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't eaten. And like I have that low blood sugar kind of, So it's been a journey to set my body to eat a little bit earlier in the day to just anchor myself a little bit more. But like you said, everybody has different rhythms and
That's right.
yeah. Yeah. Well, what else do you want to share here that I haven't asked about yet, Lorraine?
So another great thing. So
Yeah.
I am not just launching. I've been in public speaking for a number of years. So
Yeah.
I am a member of Toastmasters. I'm McGuire Chivas
Mm.
Toastmasters, which is associated with the military base, and since 2014. And I've really been trying to hone my public speaking ability. I'm not afraid of the stage. I've gotten past that fear, even though when I say I've gotten past it, I'm willing to just take things head on. I think most speakers have that fear as, am I going to do well? Am I going to fail? Will they hear me? But just going out there and just kind of presenting to people, if I make a mistake, I make a mistake, and then just keep it moving. But I have decided to embrace the idea of being a public or keynote speaker and speaking about my journey and the benefits of really addressing the way that we eat for our health.
Mhm.
So I'm here. Anyone need me on stage? I'm ready
There we go. Oh yeah,
to
definitely.
share that
And I
story.
mean, yeah, and I mean, you're public speaking right now. It might not feel like it's just the two of us, but so many people are going to listen to this after, right? So, and do you do a lot of podcasts?
I do enough. I
Yeah.
do quite a few that I've been doing more of late
Yeah.
than prior. Now, just to mention this whole thing of the military, because I just retired from the military this past February. So I
Yeah.
have a little more time on my hand than I had before. So I'm really diving into becoming more available for different opportunities.
That's wonderful. Oh, well, you and I, we can talk offline too, because I have some ways to like point you in directions if you haven't followed them already. But yeah, I mean, you are very articulate. I mean, I could just continue to listen to you all day. You've got a lot of great knowledge there to share with people. And how do people stay connected with you? We'll have the links in here, but where do you like to hang out?
So I have quite a few places. So I'm on
Mhm.
LinkedIn, basically, but Lorraine Cuff or Cuff Biz, the third, because I had that account for a long time ago. It's three of us. My sister's the eldest, my brother's the middle child, and then myself. So that's why I'm the third.
Oh, wow.
All right. So there's on LinkedIn. I also have an Instagram account that is yes, speaker coach, or you can just plug my name in, Lorraine Cuff. It'll come up, and also on Facebook. And I
Oh,
do have two events that are coming up. One is a virtual event, a women's event that's going to be held virtually, and also another event, but I'll be speaking in October in Miami. And that's also a focus on women's health. So that information is available on my social media page, and then you can check out. Also, follow me on Instagram. Every morning, give you the my bright morning. This morning, I was actually singing a song. I was singing, "You are my sunshine, my only
oh,
sunshine." I didn't like the second verse, though. I didn't realize that the second verse was a little drab, but the first verse, we'll stay with the first verse.
oh no, what is the second verse?
I'll have everyone look that up. We'll hold you to that one.
Okay, I'll go look it up. I'm gonna go watch you today because yeah, I definitely recommend everybody follow you because you come up on my feed now. I'm like, oh yeah, let's watch the sunset with Lorraine.
Yes, morning sunrise. It's always a great day, a great way to start your day. One of the reasons why I do it is because so many people, they're rushing through their mornings and they don't really get to embrace and enjoy that morning, that sunrise, the
Yeah.
majesty of the skies. And that's just my way of trying to capturing that moment to share with others that you can look at some point in the day.
Yeah, that's so wonderful. Thank you for doing that for everybody. Yeah, that's so beautiful. Well, Lorraine, I just had such a wonderful time speaking with you and getting to know a little bit more about your journey and what you're doing in the world. And I know everybody who's listening is going to just absolutely love you and probably turn some like light bulbs on above their head.
I hope so.
Some new ideas coming through about, oh, what am I actually eating here? How can I shift things? So I have a feeling they'll be knocking on your door soon.
Good. That's good to
Yeah.
hear.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. You're welcome. And thank you for holding space for me,
Of
Phoebe.
course. Of course.